Okay, well, after 3 years, 2 years, I don't know, a few years of this story floating around Mets land, we have finally gotten an answer, and the answer is yes. The Mets are hiring David Stearns as their new president of baseball operations, the first ever president of baseball operations in Mets franchise history, may I add as well. We're going to talk to everybody in the chat. Of course, we've got a poll going up right now in your confidence level in David Stearns. Let me know with that. We're going to talk about Billy Epler. We're going to talk about everything going on with the Mets and their future with David Stearns as well. Make sure to bring in all of the comments, questions, concerns into the chat. And as of right now, we're just, with the Mets obviously not having a fun season right now, not being an entertaining baseball team, this is some big news, and it has been floating around for a long time, and now we finally get to officially talk about it because it is now official, a 5-year deal for David Stearns to be the Mets' new president of baseball operations. Let's go. Okay, so for those of you here, hold on, I'm just trying to get this thing started. Hold on. Give me a second, guys. Okay, so for those of you who do not know who David Stearns is, he is a local boy, New Yorker. I believe he grew up in the Bronx. I'm not sure. I'll check on that, obviously. But he has been with the Brewers for a while recently, and he has been able to build a perennial contender every single year, but obviously not with the biggest budget. He's actually from Manhattan. Okay. So currently he is still with the Milwaukee Brewers, but after the regular season is done, he will officially be the Mets president of baseball operations. It is going to be a 5-year deal that he is going to sign with the New York Mets. And it looks like Billy Epler, it's all but confirmed that he will be remaining as the Mets general manager. So for those of you who believe that, Billy Epler did not do a great job here and he should be gone and replaced by Stearns, that's not going to happen. Stearns is actually a pretty good friend of Billy Epler. And they built a relationship over the last few years, over the last decade or so. They're really good friends. So as for me, there is a few questions that I have with how this is going to work out. Not necessarily with Billy Epler staying, but more of just the people that are around Billy Epler that he brought in from the Angels. Let's not forget the Angels. When that happened, when we actually hired Billy Epler, he brought in a lot of the guys from the Angels organization to basically help around him. Now, the problem with that is we all have seen what has happened in LA. They were not able to win anything. They did not have much of a piece. They didn't have any success. They were missing the playoffs every single year. They had one playoff appearance under Billy Epler, and that's what I'm looking at as of right now. I want to know what happens to the people that are around Billy Epler. Are they also David Stearns guys? Does Stearns like those guys? I would love to see the Mets completely just clean house here. If they want to keep Billy Epler, keep Billy Epler. But the guys who are actually being hired need to be hired by David Stearns. And we have seen that in one situation throughout the entire Mets front office, throughout their entire pitching staff, their entire coaching staff, with Jeremy Hefner still remaining with the club, even while he was a Wilpon hire. So that is going to be something that I'm going to be looking after, because we all know that the Mets pitching this year has not been good. We know David Stearns is a big guy, a big pitching guy. Obviously, he's been able to, establish a lot of talent, such as guys in Milwaukee. We all know that he had an involvement with the Houston Astros as well with their pitching development. So I'm interested to see what happens there. It's all looking to go in this right direction, and that's really what that's all I can really ask for right now. We have seen what David Stearns can do, and I don't want to use the old cliche of what this guy can do with an unlimited budget, because I'm pretty sure a lot of people did that with Billy Epler. Well, Billy Epler's not a, Artie Moreno is a meddling owner. Well, I'm not going to give that benefit of the doubt to David Stearns. Obviously, this is going to be for next year, and we'll see what happens. But right now, things are looking good. It looks like they have reached their agreement, unless anything at the last minute comes in. Fingers crossed, no Jared Porter situations. It looks like David Stearns is going to be the Mets' new and first ever president of baseball operations. For those of you in here, make sure to leave some comments down below in the chat if you haven't already. Hit the poll if you haven't. Let me know what your confidence level is. It looks like we have pretty much positive confidence right now in the chat for those of you who are watching. Making sure I didn't miss any other reports that went out. For those of you who have missed us in the last few weeks, there has not really been much content out here, and I want to apologize for that. We let you guys know that on our community page and everything. I've been working on a lot of separate other things that aren't regarding the Mets whatsoever. So I've kind of had to shift my focus to that recently. Eventually, it'll all get figured out, and I will be able to obviously focus on both at the same time. But that has needed my full. The other project has needed my full attention. And I'll let you guys know of that other project, when it does come out, even though I don't really think it will have much interest to this demographic of sports. Just making sure, missed anything. Okay. Yep. All right. So once this regular season has concluded, he will be officially our president of baseball operations. We have reached a agreement with David Stearns. Okay. All right. So okay, so as for the other rumors that I'm seeing, obviously, Stearns wanting to bring in their own guys. There is some question around Buck Showalter and the possibility of him moving on, but it's confusing because I don't know if they do move on from Buck Showalter exactly. Why do people love to stir the pot? Passan? What did Passan say? What did he do? I don't know. I wasn't paying attention to Passan. I just saw the report from him, and I wasn't really paying attention. But why do people love to stir the pot? I don't know, man. It's Twitter trolls. Twitter trolls are Twitter trolls. The lineup just came out for today's game, but it's not really. Do we really care about that? I don't know. The kids are in the bottom four of the lineup. So for those of you who are watching just for the kids, there you go. But yeah, I have been seeing some rumors about Pete Alonso and his future here, of how assessing the trade market might be something that David Stearns does first. Okay. So, yeah, it might be. I think that it'll be a topic that they're going to look at, but I don't think they're going to get really deep into it. I think that they are definitely. I think that they're definitely interested in keeping Alonso long term, but I don't think it's going to run as smoothly as people think it's going to. It's going to take a while for them to lock down Pete Alonso, and I think we all need to realize that, even though we all know where his market value is at, and we all know where the highest that we would go for him and the lowest that we would go for him or whatever, it's going to take a while, and I'm not gonna just completely sugarcoat it there. The Mets are going to. It's gonna be a deep conversation. I'm gonna tell you right now. Trade the guy who has 25% of your homers. Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I'm not trading. I would never trade Pete Alonso, especially with just. I mean, we talk about this all the time. He's way too important to this team, and I don't think that's something that they need to do. I think that that's a step backwards, in my opinion, unless there's somebody else in the wings that we're not talking about whatsoever. At this point, Pete Alonso's your guy. You have to lock him down because I don't see a Freeman or an Oslin available right now that could be an upgrade from Pete Alonso. If you're trying to field a competitive team, like they said after the trade deadline when they traded everybody away, you can't trade away Pete Alonso. That's just not going to happen. You need home runs to win games these days. Clifford, I guess. I mean, Clifford is 20 years old, and even though I love the upside of Clifford, it's, prospects, sometimes they come up, sometimes they make an instant impact, sometimes they don't. And you can't bank on a prospect being that guy. Clifford is struggling. Yeah, Clifford is slowing down a little bit ever since that he came into the Mets organization, but I'm not worried about that. Where is he? He's in Brooklyn right now. I think they just finished up their season. So yeah. You can't rely on a prospect to replace somebody. You can't do that unless they make that instant impact like Pete Alonso did from opening day. With Jet having a good year, personally have Jet jumped on the Jet bandwagon. I believe in him now. Do you see Brett Beatty? Yeah, exactly. Do I believe in Jet? Not as much as I do in a lot of other prospects. I think that he's displayed a lot of power recently, and I've liked that. But I just don't know how that's going to translate to the upper levels. I don't know how that would translate to the MLB. It's all a wait and see at this point. But we'll see what happens. I just don't really see much of a power ceiling with Jet Williams, and that's Beatty is adjusting to MLB and an inconsistent. Barnes is a disaster. I don't think Barnes is the problem there. I'm going to tell you right now. I go after a lot of coaches with the Mets, and I think that their coaching style has always been outdated. But I'm not going to go after Jeremy Barnes. I think Jeremy Barnes has done a better job than people are portraying him to do as. And this is kind of just the hitter that Beatty is. Is Stearns going to fire Epler? No, that's not going to happen. If they move Alonso, will Vientos play for? Yeah, that's the thing. You also have a Vientos as a possibility who's, not Ryan Clifford and not 20 years old. He's 24, going to be 25. You also have Mark Vientos, but he has not proven anything at the major league level yet either. I mean, we've seen some signs of, him making some good quality of contact. We've seen him at third base. It's not great, but we haven't really seen him take the job and run with it. The only guy that we've seen, the only prospect that we've seen is the youngest of them all in Francisco Alvarez, who has taken the job, and he's cooled down recently. Votto and Hoskins are free agents. Hoskins coming off of an injury. That's the thing. Votto is not young, that's making the team older. But there aren't Alonso. That's the thing. I mean, Rhys Hoskins, I think, is a good hitter. I think Rhys Hoskins is a lot better of a hitter than people think he is. But he's going to be coming off of an injury. You're always going to have some concern with that. Joey Votto, he is never, recently he has been injured, but throughout his career, he's been on the field a lot. But, he's coming near 40. He's pushing 40 right now. So Alonso's your only thing. And you also want to put in the factor. We talk about this all the time. How they do in New York, Also Vogelbach. I don't think Vogelbach comes back next year, but do you see them moving Mauricio to third? I want to see Mauricio play third only because Beatty and Vientos are so fucking bad at it that it's like you might as well see what Mauricio can do because he actually has a ceiling of being a toolsy player. Yeah, can play second, and you have Acuna in the outfield in the future. I'm not big on Jet or Acuna, so I don't see them in that position. The thing is, I'm not going to plug prospects into the future of this team. It's just not going to happen. I wouldn't do that. Beatty isn't bad. He makes rookie mistakes, but there's a defensive stud at third base potential. I don't see it. Listen, I've seen nothing from Beatty to actually say that you can plug this guy into the third base position. And it sucks because this guy was our first round pick, and they're not going to just give up on him, but most of the stuff that I'm seeing from him is just kind of just how he is. Like, I don't really see much of that changing, right? It's just kind of how he's been throughout his entire baseball career, throughout the minor leagues, in high school. I mean, he's always had that problem with lifting the ball. He's always had that problem with pulling the ball. Yeah, I just don't see him changing as a hitter. I don't see him doing that, and then overall is. The defense can be better. We know it can, but I need my offense, man. I need the offense. I need young offense. If you're not going to be a young bat, that's a good bat. I mean, at this point, I can't make any rookie excuses for Beatty. I mean, this guy came in with some high expectations. He has not met it whatsoever. He was supposed to be one of the older, more experienced younger guys. Yeah. Could Budo be a full-time major leaguer next year? I hope not. If Budo's in your rotation, it's going to be tough. I don't think Budo is great. Marte is most likely toast too. Yeah, Marte is going to be that's going to be a problem that they're going to have to address. We'll see what they do. I'm hoping that they don't just DH him because, giving almost $20 million a year to a DH is absolutely ridiculous. I was kind of we were kind of nervous in the back end of that deal, but the fact that it came in year 2, that all these injuries came in, he started to struggle. He just looked like a shell of the player that he was as compared to the all-star caliber player that he was last year. It's going to be a concern. I think that Marte is going to raise a lot more eyebrows in a bad way than people think he's going to. I don't think he comes back and it's going to be all lollipops and rainbows. I can tell you that. Aaron Rodgers got W. Listen, I'm not going off to football. I'm not the biggest Aaron Rodgers fan, but I'm going to tell you right now, that's brutal. That is brutal. I don't like Aaron Rodgers as a person, but, I respect his talent, obviously. He's an all-time great. That it doesn't get more Jets than that. I can tell you that. And for those Jets fans in the chat right now, I apologize. I'm sorry that your team is cursed. This is all shit. Lasted 75 seconds. Yeah. Listen. Bloody YouTube ads. Oh, you guys are getting ad. I'm sorry. Yeah, there's new ad settings right now on YouTube. Ever since the last time that I live streamed, so I'm gonna have to switch all of those around. I'm sorry, guys, if you guys are getting ads out the wazoo here. I don't know if that's doesn't really help me as much as you guys think it does. All right, so this week, today's lineup, you got Jose Budo on the mound tonight, who I didn't even realize was pitching tonight. Nimmo, Lindor, McNeil, Alonso, Stewart, Mauricio, Vientos, Beatty, Alvarez. Cut-in ads? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like, but I don't know. I'll make sure to figure it out. Will Aram go to Double A next year, or they will leave him in High A? I think they leave him in High A, and I think that he's going to get, I don't know, like a few months to see if he deserves a promotion. And yeah, 2 major groin surgeries last year. One Marte cannot be counted. Yeah, listen, when we first signed Marte, we talked about this on the podcast extensively. When we first signed Marte, I love Marte as a player. I think he's a great player. But the only problem with giving him hard 4 years is the fact that you don't know if he's going to be on the field. And that's really the biggest concern with him, because he is in his mid-30s. You know that health continues to be a problem for guys as they get older. And it just wasn't a risk. It was a risk that I'm glad that they did take, because I think he's a big impact player. But long-term, as per the multiple years continue to go out, because we still have 2 years left on this contract, there was a big likely chance that it was going to be a nightmare. We have to sign Yamamoto. I 100% agree. But his market's going to be nuts. His market is going to be insane. So you're going to have to outbid a lot of people. And, you could see, a huge overpay as compared to what Senga got, because Yamamoto is a ridiculous talent. He's really good. Could Stewart be here next year as a starting outfielder, considering they don't care about 2024? I don't think they don't care about 2024. I think they're just in this pivotal spot. My hair is thinning. Well, thank the Mets for that. We have the cap under the luxury tax, 200 million, 8 years. That's something that you could look at. Like that's in that range there, right? I mean, it's possible. I'm happy if we got shut. I don't know much about Imanaga. Is that how you say it? Did I say it right? I don't know. I don't know much about him, and I actually have to learn a little bit more about him, so I'm not going to say anything about him. So, I mean, Japan's got some ridiculous talent. I mean, we saw this in the WBC, right? Low upside, high floor. All Japanese rotation. I mean, I wouldn't mind it. Listen, I wouldn't mind it. For those of you in here, if you have not hit the like button, please do. It'd be really nice. Be awesome. Once again, apologies for the lack of content recently. The Mets right now are not really exciting of a baseball team, and pretty much everything that has gone on during the week, there just really has not been much of substance to use in a podcast episode either. And also, I've been working on separate projects that have nothing to do with the Mets, so I really have had to do that. Terrible pickup. What's a terrible pickup? David Stearns? Is David Stearns a terrible pickup? Listen, I mean, I don't know if he's a terrible pickup or not. Alonso is gone. Well, yeah, I mean, listen, it is interesting because there were talks about the Brewers getting Alonso. Obviously, it didn't go very far, but, I want someone to make a Mets logo and a Japanese flag. Stearns better make Beatty the everyday third baseman batting cleanup for the next decade. Absolutely not, Matt. Get the fuck out of here. Everybody roast Ibby for that. That's awful. That's terrible. That's illegal. That's Brew Crew stirring stuff. Yeah, listen, I'm not gonna go after the whole thing with Pete Alonso right now, because I think if the Mets were to trade Pete Alonso, especially with the talks of him going to the Brewers, and you hire David Stearns, like that just has Derek Jeter trading Stanton to the Yankees all over it, right? And you're going to get a lot of heat because it's going to be coming from, it's going to be coming from a different tone. Like that was somebody going into New York. This is somebody coming out of New York, right? And, Pete Alonso, whether you like it or not, Whether you think we know that Pete Alonso is a fan favorite here, right? So there's going to be a lot of backlash if that does happen. I'm just going to say it. So, and if he does get traded, if he does get traded to Milwaukee, that'll definitely raise a lot more heat towards Stearns. And, he would be definitely under a lot of fire for that. I don't know how you can possibly sell that. That I don't see how, oh, well, I was just with the Brewers. I'm going to trade your top hitter, your top power bat, your generational piece to your lineup. I'm going to trade him to the other team that I just came from. So I don't see how you can really sell that. I hope it's just the Brewers rumoring Pete Alonso is being traded. Listen, the Mets have not had the success as to where everybody can be safe. They have to listen to offers on everybody. But obviously there's guys here that I would fight to keep. And I've talked about it again. I'm signing off, going to Citi Field to watch the New York Mauricios. Hell yeah, man. I love Ronnie. Obviously there's still some more that he's got to get going, but he's got to learn how to lift a little bit more, but that's something that can be arranged as of right now. They don't want to give us Burns. I don't think they do. I think what you're going to get is maybe a few pitching prospects. Listen, we'll see what happens. I'm not really looking at the trades that the Mets could possibly make with David Stearns here because he's not even officially our team president. I do obviously want to just see, the prospects for the rest of the year. That's basically all I'm looking at right now, but that's definitely not the first move that I would address, with that being Pete Alonso. We all know that if the Mets were to have David Stearns at the end of the season, my number one move that I would make first would obviously be to let go of Jeremy Hefner. That's the number one thing that I would do. If he is the pitching guy that we've said he is, I would let go of Jeremy Hefner. DFA Drew Smith, that would be number 2 on the list as well. Because, I think that, whether they like Jeremy Hefner or not, he's already survived a Wilpon era. He's survived a few years in the Cohen era. And, I don't think Hefner is, there's a little too much where I don't think that he should last here. You'd keep Hefner. So the thing about Hefner, and we talk about this all the time, is who has he made better? And that's the thing about, with him, there's no guy that has come here who was terrible somewhere else. They come into the Mets organization, and under Jeremy Hefner, they turn into a god. Diaz was an elite reliever before he came here, Who could they replace Hefner with? I mean, that's for them to decide. Loop had a career here. Loop had a career before here. Otto had a career before he came here. I don't think, there is nobody that has just come out of the blue and have been just domination. They've just been incredible, a revelation. All these optional relievers, right? All these guys that we've talked about with Billy Epler, his optional relievers. Loop had a career year under Hefner. He had a great postseason career before he got here, right? I understand he had a career year here, but he was already established as one of the best relievers in baseball. Montes is healthy is the only one. Yeah, Montes de Oca has to stay healthy too. And that's another thing with Jeremy Hefner. He has career year under Hef. Yeah, exactly. These guys have had career years, but they were already established as some of the best relievers in baseball before they came here, right? So Montes de Oca, that's another reason for Jeremy Hefner. And, I don't, listen, this is all speculation from me. I'm not completely accusing him as all the problems here, but the thing about Hefner is that we've also seen a lot of injuries under Jeremy Hefner. And I understand it's the most fragile position here, but we've also seen a lot of injuries under him. And as compared to since Hefner got here, as compared to guys before that, I mean, the Mets have always had their fair share of injuries, but I feel like it's really come to more of an extreme. Diaz is obviously a freak injury, right? Buck usage could contribute to that, sure. And also they just have guys who are just not talented at all. Like they just don't have as much talent. Holderman, who got traded, yeah, exactly. Like that was a Mets draft pick as well. And this is what David Stearns is there to do. The Mets have 2 batting coaches. They need to go. I wouldn't fire Jeremy Barnes. I'm just saying. I wouldn't fire Jeremy Barnes. I don't think he's great, but I don't think he's a problem. I can say that right now. I think that Jeremy Barnes has done a very good job with Nimmo this year. I think that he's done a really good job with Lindor this year, whether people like it or not. Eric Hinsky, I mean, yeah. Cora Chavez. Davis? Who? Yeah, are the only ones I prefer to keep. I mean, Chavez is going to probably be a manager somewhere else because there's obviously the rumors about Craig Counsell possibly being our manager under David Stearns, bringing in his own guy, which, you know, I would be fine with. I think is a better fit than Buck Showalter to this game right now. Cora, I mean, it's a third base coach, you know. Lindor is hitting 20 points less than last year. Good. I'm glad. Hit for more power. That's what we want. I know y'all hate to hear that, don't you? Stearns didn't hire Craig, but I'd love him. He didn't hire Craig Counsell? He didn't hire Craig Counsell? I thought he was like his first. Let's see. Just making sure, sorry. Nope, he came in 1 year prior. Oh, okay. Interesting. Then I'm wrong. Oh, well. David Stearns. Let's see if that is that correct. He did. Yeah. Wow. That is true. Never mind. Okay. Oh, okay. So he endorsed Craig Counsell as the Brewers manager, but he was already there. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Cool. I think Craig Counsell's a decent manager. I don't think he's, you know. It all depends on what they want. You know, if they want experience, you got to hire winning experience, which is why you shouldn't have hired Buck Showalter. But listen, whatever. Water under the bridge at this point. Making sure I'm not missing any updates on this because seems like this shit moves really fast with there. David Stearns. You think Stearns is firing Buck? I think that he's the most likely guy to be moved on from out of the entire office. I think Billy Epler's obviously going to stay. We've already seen reports about that. Well, remember, I don't think it's either Buck goes after this season or you can, or what's it called? Train of thought. It's either Buck goes after this season or he goes after next season. Because remember, he has a 3-year deal. He has a 3-year deal with the Mets. So he has one more year left on his contract, right? And to be honest, I'm not. I don't see. I'm not a fan of Buck Showalter, but yeah, I really Buck Showalter going or staying. You know, that's not really something that. You know, I don't think you're going to win anything under him, but I don't think they're going to win anything under anything in 2024. So, Sandy was absolute trash for the Mets pyramid. Pyramid, yeah. Buck is never getting a manager job again. Listen, we all know my problem with Buck. I've already established this. I'm not going to go over it again. Yeah, Sandy Alderson. I think Sandy was a lot better than people say he was, but he still wasn't great. A very limited, very stubborn executive, but for what his strengths were, he definitely was a positive for a majority of the time. People praise his. I don't praise him. I think he's. I don't think he's the worst. I don't think Sandy Alderson was the worst. That's all I can say. I don't think that Sandy Alderson was the worst executive we've ever had. I don't think he was bad. I just think that, you know, the game's kind of just passed him by at this point. I think that he did an ample job under the situation. You know, I think that was really what it was. Was it going to get us anywhere long term? No. But I don't think he was, you know. All right, so we did get a report from Michael Marino, who what's it called? He's a national MLB reporter. I'm pretty sure he's with Fansided, something like that. I forget what he's at, Fantrax or something. He's a Mets reporter. He said executives with the Mets and around the league are unsure about Buck Showalter's intentions to manage next season, with some under the impression that he has contemplated stepping down as manager. Big decisions ahead for Buck and the Mets heading into next season. So there's the whole situation right there. Does that mean that they give the man who shall not be named another chance after they had to let him go before he didn't even manage a game? I don't know. But I think Craig Counsell is probably a better possibility. But if Buck Showalter were to step down, I'd be fine with that. Sandy could not find a bullpen with James Webb telescope in space. I think he did a decent job with the bullpen. I mean, again, listen, I'm not. I don't think. That's your choice, Beltran. What is this? Okay. Beltran's your choice. Yeah, I wouldn't go with Beltran, but if they want to go with Beltran, they can go with Beltran. Whatever. I don't know. Not my. Stearns will pick people for sure. I hope. I think he's already picked his general manager, obviously, and that's Billy Epler. Because listen, Billy Epler and David Stearns are friends, like we've said before. Like they're really good friends. So I don't know if friends working together is obviously something that is a big yes or no. But again, I just want to see what happens with the guys around Billy Epler that they brought in from LA that really failed. And here kind of just looks like the same situation. I hope Stearns doesn't give Alonso a blank check. 8 years, 20 million would be my highest offer. I mean, I probably would go lower than that. Yeah, I'd probably go low. I mean, 8 years, 200 8 years, 200. Like that would probably be like the most that I would go with Alonso. But I mean, that's just being. Yeah, if he turns out, yeah, he would be stupid to not take something like that, especially in just like the first baseman market, considering how it is. Like that's just, I think that's a little asinine if you weren't to take that. 29 million a year is my highest. I mean, if you want to give him more money than Olsen and yeah, Robert Saleh worked with his friend last year. It was a disaster. Yeah. Well, we'll see. I never expected Billy Epler to go, so I'm not really surprised or upset. Am I a big fan of Billy Epler? No, I'm not a fan of Billy Epler. I'm not a fan of Buck. But, you know, if that's what brings David Stearns here, sure. A guy with more of a track record of what the Mets actually need. Let me say that again because I yawned over it. David Stearns, more of a track record of what the Mets actually need, which is a lot of pitching development. And we'll see what happens. What if he turns that down? Will Mets fans have the balls to get on Alonso's case? I mean, I've gotten on Alonso's case for how he's played before. So, I mean, he's had his struggling, and I've gone after him. Listen, I don't know. So you're agnostic either way if the Mets keep or fire Buck. I don't see Buck saying here long term. So it's either this year was his last year or next year is his last year. Like that's how I see it. I don't think he's the best guy for the young players that you're trying to bring up here and trying to make the team younger. I don't like his managing styles whatsoever. This isn't a rule that you can't announce it till after the World Series. I mean, there might be tampering fines, but nothing Steve Cohen can't just write off as a check. The Mets fans clearly one-sided in this. Mets. I'm not really, to be honest, I have no emotional connection to Alonso. I just think they're not going to win without him. Like, I don't see anybody coming in to replace the workload of Pete Alonso. I think a lot of Mets fans take Alonso for granted. A lot. They don't realize the workload that he has actually had since he come here since his rookie year. As a person, as like a guy who's our homegrown guy and we want to keep an emotional connection. I don't really have that. I think it's more of just the talent that he has, and as compared to the rest of the Mets roster and the rest of the rest of the Mets lineup, you're not going to get anybody to carry that type of workload. It's just not going to happen. They rely on him way too much to just let him go like that. We are not going to contend at 24. No reason to keep him. They already said, they said they were going to try and field a competitive team. I don't care about homegrown. Listen, at this point, I don't really at all, because that core has not won anything. So, if they, I'm already done with Jeff McNeil. I've already moved on from that. I think that he's already overstayed his welcome enough, but Alonso kind of just has to do with nothing with homegrown. It's just the fact that they need him. They need him, and if he comes out of the lineup, a lineup without Jeff McNeil is a lot more doable than a lineup without Pete Alonso. Like you're not going to find a replacement for Pete Alonso. That's not going to happen. He's irreplaceable on the Mets roster. Like if this was the Braves, you can move on from him because they have so many other guys who can hit the ball out of the ballpark. We don't, right? We have guys who possibly could do it as at a prolific stage, but they haven't proven that yet. Pete Alonso's proven that, right? So, Ronnie Mauricio has the power where he could hit 30 a year. You could get 30 from Alvarez, but you haven't seen that yet, right? Alonso came up so small when they needed him. Showed up in the playoffs. He was like the only guy who showed up in the playoffs last year. The only guy that hit in the playoff. I'm pretty sure he had a hit in every single game, didn't he? I don't know. I think a lot of Mets fans take him for granted. And if he wasn't so important to this lineup, I'd be like, okay, yeah, move on, trade him. But I just don't see where you're going to replace that production in a power man's game. Like, I don't see how you're going to replace that because nobody has proven that they could, right? See, if there was a Freeman available right now, a Freddie Freeman available, if there was a Matt Olson available, I'd be like, okay, well, try and get one of them. But they're not available, right? We would be trading McNeil on a low side. This is... trading McNeil, I think that, I don't know, I would give the opening spot to Ronnie at this point. I think I've seen more from him of somebody that could actually fit into this era of baseball as compared to Jeff McNeil. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of Jeff McNeil. I'm grown very cynical of him. I really, it's frustrating. The guy doesn't hit the ball hard. The guy doesn't pull the ball. The guy doesn't do anything, The guy doesn't do anything that can actually be productive. That's what we need. What if Alonso turns down $220 million offer? That's when you move on. There's a limit. There definitely is a limit, but I would definitely try to keep Alonso. I'd overpay a little bit. Alonso will want 10 years. I don't think he will. I think the most you're going to get is 8 years. I don't think anybody's going to commit to a first baseman for 10 years. I don't think anybody's just going to get the Joey Votto contract for whatever. I think all of it depends on what the AAV is. But like the term, I'm not really worried about because listen, the back end of the contract for Nimmo and the back end for contract for Lindor. You're paying for their prime years right now for them to produce right now. The back end of the contract, that's what you're looking at. But they're not gonna, they're currently in their primes right now. Right, and that's what you're looking at. That's kind of what the Padres did with Xander Bogaerts. Came out to bite him in the ass so far, but, you're going to just see long-term security. You're going to see a lot more long-term deals. It's just going to happen. And that's what it's going to take, to get some of these guys here. And even though you're going to have them locked down here for a while, if they're guys who you need to keep or guys that you need to bring in, is it worth it or not? And that's, the decisions that they're going to have to make. As for Alonso, I think the most years that Alonso gets is 8 years. But we'll see. I think he's going to test the market. I don't think they're going to reach an agreement for him. If they do, I'll be pumped. But I don't see there's something where you've seen what the market looks like for first baseman. I mean, he could test it. He definitely could. But there's a few offers where, you give it to him, there's no reason why he doesn't say yes. Nimmo contract's going to be disgusting in 3 years. Nimmo's a mediocre medical patient waiting to. I mean, he's been able to stay healthy these last 2 years. I'm not worried about Nimmo. I am 100% on Nimmo. For the next few years, obviously. The back end of the contract could suck. It definitely could suck, but I think it's a decent deal. All right. So I'm going to be on, guys, for like another 15-ish minutes. We can obviously talk for days here, but I got some other stuff to work on. Would I trade for Corbin Burns? Would I trade for Corbin Burns? I mean, sure. I'd love Corbin Burns. He's a great pitcher. It all depends on what you're giving up. Pete's not that pressure guy. He's terrible at runners on base. That is not true at all. That is not correct. Held up from playing the whole because he was afraid of getting hurt. Well, I mean, he hasn't held up from playing this year. I do not speak Spanish, so I'm not sure what that means. If anybody can translate that for me, I would love to, because I'd love to read all the comments. But I do not speak Spanish, so I apologize. Would you take Yelich? Would you take Yelich as well to give up less to get Burns? Vientos and Beatty are two horrible players. I mean, I like Vientos as a hitter, but yeah, Beatty sucks. Would you take on Yelich's contract to give up less for Burns? I think if they were to find a way to get rid of Marte's contract, I think that if you were to take on Yelich's deal, I would do it. Like, they need outfield depth, but I'm not really a big fan of what Yelich is doing right now. I think he's really regressed as a player, and I don't think it's going to get better. But I don't know. We'll see what happens. It depends on what they get from the Brewers. Yeah, for whoever was debating Pete Alonso, he has a 929 OPS with men on base, and with men in scoring position, 949 OPS with runners on base. That's just this year. As for his career, it's probably even better. So yeah, that is not correct. All right. Numbers never lie until they lie. Man. You love my chat. Jung Ho Lee. Thank you. I don't see much videos. Speaking of videos, I don't see many videos coming out in the near future. You will get, you guys will probably get, some clips from the podcast, and you'll get a podcast episode. But I will be busy with a lot of other things, so stuff will come out towards the week, but I don't see, much of that coming through. I mean, you'll probably see some, live streams whenever stuff happens, like this one, and we'll talk about that type of stuff. But the podcast is the main thing that we're going to start getting out again. I'm not sure when the next episode is going to be out. It all depends on, what I have with everything else. But yeah, Probable and Dorks who were complaining about his batting at upper 250, and they're still complaining. Well, batting average does not matter. So, would you try to sign Hader and try to sign Jordan Hicks for the bullpen? I would try to sign Jordan Hicks. Hader, I can live without. I would not sign Hader because you already have Edwin Diaz, and Hader's going to look for an Edwin Diaz type of deal. So we all know that he's going to ask for $20 million a year, $18 million a year. I'm not locking that up for the rest of the bullpen. That's just, there's no reason for that. He's going to want the closer role as well, and the closer role will not belong to him because Edwin Diaz is the closer of the Mets. Okay. Two years ago today, Lindor hit 3 home runs against the Yankees, by the way, guys. That was our World Series. How much has changed recently? Okay. How would I build the bullpen? Well, I would go after Jordan Hicks. That's somebody that I would go after. I also would look at Shintaro Fujinami as a possibility. If they want to go after him, because he is going to be a free agent. I don't know if he goes back to Japan. He was just traded to Baltimore. They might keep him. Who knows? I'd look at quite a few free agents. I would try to move Acevedo. That would be nice. But yeah. Yelich has a bad back. It's not happening. Yeah, I don't think that happens at all. But taking on his contract is something that the Mets could do if they wanted somebody from the Brewers, such as Corbin Burns, or, have you heard of Japanese? The other Japanese player. Yeah, I've heard of that. And from what we've heard from Senga, apparently it's bullshit. Apparently that's not like a thing. It's basically a myth. Because, I mean, he's already expressed that he would love to recruit Yoshi Yamamoto to the Mets. I mean, listen, I'm not sure what the custom is with that, but apparently it doesn't affect the players. I don't think that there's anything out of the sign of respect with that. I don't see, we've seen Japanese teammates before, like, yeah, the bullpen, I'd obviously go on the market. Obviously, I would try to move some arms. I give, a few of the guys in the, I'd love to see what happens with Bryce Montes de Oca, but we'll see what happens. He's not going to be back for a while. Would you take a chance on a 1-year deal with Severino? I mean, not my first choice, but if that's something that they want to do, I wouldn't mind it, but it's not something that I would like go crazy over. Like, if he does well, you could trade him at the deadline, which, but rumors Yankees will offer. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of offers on the table for Yamamoto. Apparently, when he threw his second no-hitter the other day, there were 29 of the 30 teams that were in attendance. Would you bring back Loop? Well, Loop is going to be a free agent. He signed a 2-year deal with the Angels. But no, I would not bring back Loop. I want them to aim younger. Loop is, 35 now? I mean, so... Oh, no, he has a club option. So if they decline that, then he would become a free agent. Yeah. I would aim younger. And hopefully, we'll see what if Stearns has that impact on that. There's a few arms that we already have that I like. But, it's going to take a lot of work for them to become a really good reliever. We're going to have to find a way, where, to make them better than they were wherever they were, last time. And that's been a struggle for us. Loop on a cheap 1-year deal. I mean, sure. Again, like if it was a 1-year deal, it's a 1-year deal, but I'm not seeing Aaron Loop as my main piece to the bullpen that I'm bringing in here. Like, I would go after Jordan Hicks. That's somebody that I would 100% go for. I think they already have their lefty in Brooks Raley, who it looks like they're going to keep next year. Because if they weren't going to keep next year, they probably would have traded him because of the value that he had. But I think the Mets need to build a bullpen that's young and can be here for multiple years. Like, they need guys who, they're not recycling in and out. And that's been a problem for them. That's definitely been a problem for them. Obviously, Diaz is going to be here. We'll see. Can I start I Hate Drew Smith fan club today? It's already been started by me. I actually despise him. I hope he's gone. Why not have two decent lefties in the pen? I don't know if is Loop. I mean, Loop has kind of fallen off recently, hasn't he? To be honest, I think that if with what the Mets have right now, I think what they're going to do is if they were to put in a second lefty, they're probably going to just go with more controllable arms. I don't know if David Peterson is going to be one of those. I don't know if Joey Lucchesi is still going to be one of those. We'll see what happens, but I don't think that they're going to try to have two lefties. I mean, we have seen it with a lot of good bullpens, such as the Astros. Like they've built a really good bullpen. All of them are right-handers. Like they don't have any lefty in there, and they all just throw gas. Like they got strikeout stuff, and that's how you dominate. So, listen, I understand wanting a different look or anything, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's going to look different next year, and I'm excited to see what Stearns can do with the pitching because I've seen what Billy Epler can do with pitching, and it's not great. So we all know that Stearns has had a better history with pitching compared to Billy Epler, and the fact that he is taking over now, there's hope that he'll make the right moves. I hope that they do, but it's a wait and see. We'll see what happens. Aaron Loop. But yeah, if guys have career years under the Mets and they're like 34 years old, that's the same. That's the thing with Ottavino. Yeah, he had a career year, but yeah, Loop is a better lefty pen. I know, but again, Loop, he's just older. Like they need to be a little bit younger in that bullpen because that's the only way that they can actually feed to a ceiling. Like they need to be younger, right? Like Loop is going to be 36 next year, right? So he's like, and it's not like he had a tremendous year this year, right? And to what I'm seeing, he wasn't really great. If they want to bring him back, they can bring him back, but I'm not gonna be on my knees for Aaron Loop. Like if a veteran pitcher has a good year for you, like Adam Ottavino did last year, I'm not full on hyping up to keep him the next year. Because you know how relievers can be finicky. You know how inconsistent they can be. And then also the age is a factor. And I don't, like how the Mets have played with age the last few years. And it's come back to bite them in the ass. If a guy is a better option than somebody, but it's whatever. But I feel like there's a younger option out there. Do you think good of Stearns will be enough to counter Epler's bad? I hope so. Man. I really do. We'll see what happens. I don't know. I'm excited. I am excited though because we've been able to see what Stearns can do, and everybody gets the fair chance with me. But it looks like he's going to have the final say in these situations, and as he should. And hopefully he knows how New York is, right? If he doesn't do his job, doesn't get the job done. Epler doesn't get credit for Senga and Quintana. I mean, Senga was a great pickup. He's liked him for a long time, and he got to pick him up. That was a good deal. I think he's our future ace of the staff. Jose Quintana, that's a solid move as well. But I think that overall with Epler, it's not really just the moves that he's made, but the overall thought process from him as well that has been very damaging. That I just don't think that he's realized. But There's been some moves that he has made, some pieces of thought process. Like there's some moves that he didn't make that he probably should have. How many of our good prospects do you think will be traded away for pitching, and which ones? That's a good question, because I think they're kind of just panning it out of seeing who's going to be pieces that they could rely on in the upper levels and guys who obviously are major league ready. I'd say that coming out of that top 10, if there's one guy that I think gets moved, I'd say that if there's one guy that does get moved, and I don't want him to get moved because I think he has a fantastic power upside ceiling, but he has struggled recently, and that's Alex Ramirez. If there's somebody that does get moved, it probably would be Alex Ramirez. That's a possibility because he is Rule 5 draft eligible after this year, and we'll see if they do keep him, but maybe they get something back for him. I think that they will keep him. I think that they'll give him another chance next year, but the time is ticking. We're eventually waiting for him to break out, and he's got to grow into his body a little bit. He's 6'3", 170, so hopefully he comes back bigger next year. That'd be nice. And I think Aram's a possibility. I would move on. I would move Jet Williams. I'm not big on him. I think, Vientos still has a possibility of being moved. I don't know. It depends on what they want to do. But yeah, if they were to trade for a frontline starting pitching, they're going to obviously go to the farm system into that top 10. They deepened the top 10 a lot, and we'll see what happens. The Mets have some good bullpen pieces in the minors. They do, but they're very finicky. We don't know what happens. We'll see what happens. I think, however they want to build this, it's going to be Stearns' way. And whether you see some shock from the pitching standpoint, especially, that's definitely going to be something that I trust from the pitching side. If he does end up trading Pete Alonso, then I'm going to start to have a problem. But excuse me. Joey Lucchesi is back at Citi Field. By the way, he is not active yet, but he's lined up to start tomorrow against the Diamondbacks. That's from Anthony DiComo 10 minutes ago. Here's the big question everyone wants to know. Will Vogelbach be on this team in 2024? I don't know what the deal is with his contract, because if you were to look at his contract on Spot Track or whatever it is, it says that he has a club option. He had a club option in 2023 this year, which they picked up and they exercised. And then it says that he's ARB 3 next year. And then he's also a free agent next year, which is so weird. I don't understand that. I don't know if it's a typo or anything, but that's basically what you're looking at with him. I don't know if he's contract wise, I don't know, but I wouldn't keep him on this team. I would move on from him, but we'll see what they do. He's under team control next year in 2024. Yeah. It says that he's a free agent in 2025. So if they have another year with him, I would just non-tender his ass. But you know what? What the hell do I know? I'm not sure how that's going to work out. See, it says he's a 2024 free agent here. Like on Spot Track, it says he's a 2024 free agent, and he's also a 2024 ARB3. I don't really understand where we're going with that. So maybe it's just a typo. I don't know. Maybe it just says 2025 he's a free agent. But who knows? For those of you who are in here, make sure to hit the like button on the stream. If you're excited for David Stearns taking over as the Mets' new and first ever president of baseball operations, I'm going to hop off here in about 5-ish minutes. Last questions, comments, concerns, let me know. For those of you who are wondering why the lack of content is recently, I've been working on a lot of other side projects that don't involve the Mets, so they have kind of required my full attention. But once we get this thing all figured out, we will have a podcast out every single week for you guys, talking about the Mets into the off season, and we'll restart up the Mets Weekly podcast. But as of right now, I'm just figuring some stuff out. So be patient, and doesn't look like many of you are looks like most of you are still committed to us, and I appreciate that. And still subscribe, still waiting for some content, and it'll be out, but it's just going to come out a little bit slower in the next few weeks, and I apologize for that. Okay. All right. Thanks for the stream answering your question. Game for War, thank you for stopping by. Making sure if I didn't miss anything that I need to report out to any of you. I think that is about it. Yeah. No updates, no nothing. Mets play the Diamondbacks tonight. All the kids are in the lineup. Jose Budo on the mound. Another kid, I guess, on the mound. Nothing special in my opinion, but look out for that. But yeah, let's go Mets. David Stearns, he is on his way here after the regular season, so we're still counting down the days for this nightmarish season to end. And we're looking for David Stearns. Looking forward to that. Quite a few 20 games left, obviously. Still have maybe a little bit of a Cy Young watch for Kodai Senga towards the end here. His last few starts, maybe he contends for it, maybe he doesn't. 30-30 watch for Francisco Lindor still as well. Maybe Pete gets to 50. Who knows? We're all just talking about individual stats here. Maybe we see Edwin Diaz in the last week of the season come back. But other than that, there's not really much excitement as to where, we're talking about everything every week. And that's another reason why we haven't had podcast episodes recently. But we will be back eventually. We're not going anywhere. I'm glad to come back on here after a little bit of a break and talk with you guys for the new news. So let's go Mets. Make sure to like the stream if you have not already. Subscribe if you haven't. Turn on the post notifications for new content that comes out. And yeah, we will see you guys next time. Peace out.